What's up, and welcome back to the Football House, presented by House Out Enterprise, our weekly college football pick'em show and all things college football. It's week 3, and the crew had a tough one. I think the whole country had a tough one, if we're going to be honest. If you are a fan of the Sun Belt Conference, congratulations. If you are a fan of the underdogs, congratulations. I don't think any of us were the fans of either. We got Gracie Marks, Cole Hughes, and Sam Basil. Let's talk about week 2. Not where we need to be.
Yeah, definitely a surprising week, to say the least. A lot of surprises that we'll get into, but definitely saw a lot of games where the outcomes weren't what we expected, for sure.
Yeah, I think.
This is the.
Oh, go ahead.
No, all you.
I was just going to say that Notre Dame, number one fraud by far. I mean, there's just nobody.
I don't want to talk.
Nobody compares. And I knew the first week people were saying, oh, no, they covered against Ohio State. They looked good. No, I knew that they were frauds. And Ohio State was just kind of warming up the first week, And I knew Notre Dame, number one fraud. And I think they may carry that for the rest of the season, honestly.
It's so disappointing, honestly, as a Notre Dame diehard fan. It's like, I just year after year they just disappoint. It's brutal.
They're not built for the big stage.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what I was gonna say. I think I'm done betting on Notre Dame. That's my second week in a row, and the second week they've failed me. So enough of that.
Yeah, let's revisit what we have. Can I add it to the stream? Let's see. Share that. Nope. While I'm working on this, there it is.
There you go.
There we go. Still learning. Lot of pushes, a lot of surprises. I mean, we've talked about the Notre Dame cover. Alabama -20, pretty much almost across the board. Actually, no, everyone had Alabama -20. I mean, no one expected Texas to play like that. Some other big surprises: Florida 5.5 did not cover. Nebraska, obviously the big news of the week, the Scott Frost era is officially over. What are we thinking about some of the big headlines from college football this past week?
If I may throw a challenge flag on that scoreboard, we can check the tape on this maybe for next week, but I do believe I had Alabama 42, Texas 24, which would have given Texas the 20-point cover.
If you did, we will correct it.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there. The score was way off, but got to cover my bases.
That's fair. Rare minority in this one that actually picked the Texas cover.
Yeah, no one would have expected that, honestly. Florida, another surprise. I mean, they came out week 1, looked great against Utah, and they took a step back last week for sure.
Yeah, they looked horrible. They looked really bad. I thought also Pitt. That was tough. I had them +6.5. They lost by 7. That was a gut wrencher, and it was going on at the same time as Texas Tech Houston, and I thought I was going to collapse. Like the two of them going at the same time, I was like, I can't do it. And then it was an L and a push, and I was like, I'm done. Like I can't do this. I had to go outside. I was like, I need to reset the vibes. And then Fresno lost last second touchdown. Was bad. It was overall like it made me sick almost to my stomach. I was like, I can't. So long Saturday, but I'm ready to bounce back this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of bad beats. I think mine that hurt me. It wasn't a beat, fortunately, but it was a push. Houston, Texas Tech went into overtime. Thought Houston was going to be able to pull it out. I had them +3, I believe. Because they lost by 3, and it was tough. It was just all across the board. I think for all of us, it was a brutal day that just we weren't expecting at all.
Not expecting it at all. So let's kick it off to this week. New energy, new vibes. We saged the stream. We saged the rooms. We're back. Let's all be a plus money this week. Gracie, kick things off for us. What do you have? And
Yeah.
let's go off.
Yeah. So my picks this week, smaller card again, because rough, just trying to bounce back. Nevada plus 22 because they're playing Iowa, and Iowa, I don't even know if they can score 22 points. Like, they've scored 7 points each game, and I'm like, how are they going to cover a 22-point spread when their offense literally they cannot score? They're horrible. So I'm taking Nevada plus 22, and then I'm taking USC first half -6 against Fresno. Fresno, again, they're dead to me, and I'm going to now prey on their downfall. So I'm taking first half because the USC spread is 12, but I think first half USC can be up by more than a touchdown at home against a Fresno team that's kind of like okay. So I'm taking first half, and then I'm taking Western Kentucky plus 6.5 against Indiana. Indiana's horrible. I know they're 2-0, but they're not good. Indiana football is not back. So I'm taking Western Kentucky plus 7 at IU. Really excited about that. And then my game of the week is USC Fresno. I think really high scoring. The over-under was like in the 70s. So I think it's going to be high scoring. And I said 52-38 for USC beating Fresno. But, USC's defense, not great. And then I have Miami. I don't know if I put this on there, but I have Miami plus 6.5 at Texas A&M because Texas A&M, like, they're dead. And I don't care if the game's at Texas or in College Station. Miami's actually legit. Like, they're actually a solid football team. Texas A&M is dead. And after I saw that video of them doing the midnight yell, I'm also rooting for their downfall because it's so funny. And so I'm going with Miami plus 6.5 at Texas A&M, and those are my picks.
Yeah, I like the Texas A&M Miami pick for you. I think we said it last week. I said, Jimbo's a fraud. He definitely is. It's so easy to root against him. So I like Miami there. I don't know about Indiana though. I'm on Indiana's train. I think they are back.
They're so, like, I don't know. It's tough, but they'll just never be a football school, except that one year, that COVID year, where they only played Big Ten.
Yeah,
They
went
beat
off.
Michigan. They beat Penn State on that, like, one, it was like an inch touchdown where he, like, reached over. That was the only year. They're horrible. Their quarterback's not good. And I went there for a year, and, like, the football team was so bad the year I was there. So maybe I'm just resentful. But I think I like Western Kentucky plus 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Indiana will be able to match up with any of the Big Ten opponents. Obviously, there's so many other better football schools in the Big Ten, but I'll take them this week, I think.
Solid.
Gracie, ever since you joined House and you told us about your, successful college football season last year, and then you picked USC as your team, I'm riding USC. I like both of those picks.
Let's go. Yeah,
I like both of those picks.
I like the first half. That's probably the one I'm the most confident in. I think like they could be, like, I think that's very reasonable for them to be up by more than a touchdown against an okay Fresno team, So I like that.
Yeah, USC looks really good. Caleb Williams has been tearing it up.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how far they can take it this year, and maybe they can sneak into the college football playoff and, have some fireworks at the end of the season. That would be really exciting for that program.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Been pretty dormant the last, decade.
I mean, the way things are going in college football right now, obviously we're only in our third week, but don't be surprised if one of these top teams start tumbling. Do not be surprised at all. Like Ohio State, I'm not concerned yet, but they're kind of slipping out of that top 4 for me coming soon if they're still going to, not be as fast in Ohio State as we expected.
Yeah, aren't they 0-2 now against the spread?
0-2, and this week is Toledo plus 30.
Yikes. Yeah, I was looking at the teams like that are best against the spread and worse, and yeah, I saw Ohio State way down there at the bottom. No champion is, 0-2 against the spread. So,
Exactly. All right, Coley, let's swing it over to you.
All righty. So for my picks this week, I'm going to go with Oklahoma is going to be my lock in the FBS. They're playing Nebraska. Obviously, we touched upon Nebraska's situation earlier in the show. That place is in shambles right now. Losing Scott Frost, an alum that became the coach, not great for the program. I think they're just going to have a really tough year until next year when they can get a new head coach in there and try and turn it around. So my lock of the week for the FBS will be Oklahoma -11. They started the season at number 9. They've moved up to number 6. So they're on the outside looking in, but this is an opponent where, it's a Big Ten opponent. They can come in, they can kind of show out. It'll be, a statement game for them. So hopefully they can cover 11. My FCS lock of the week is going to be Delaware. They're playing URI, both 2-0, both good teams. I think Delaware is going to go into Rhode Island and pull out the victory. They had a real good week 1 win against Navy. They've looked good. So I'll take Delaware money line as my lock against URI for my FCS lock. And then for my 3 picks, I have Purdue beating Syracuse. Purdue going to the Carrier Dome. Syracuse has kind of been balling out this year. A little surprising. They beat Louisville in week 1. Came back last week, beat a terrible UConn team, so I'm not putting much stock in that. I think Purdue has shown glimpses of greatness. If they can pull it all together, I think they could make a run. Their quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, he has been balling out. He's had a really impressive year so far. They almost beat Penn State week 1, so I'm going to take Purdue to beat Syracuse on the road. My second pick, I'm going to go Michigan State +3.5 against Washington. Another team that's 2-0, facing a team that's 2-0. Big Ten versus Pac-12. I just think the Big Ten matches up better against the Pac-12. Michigan State last year had a great year. They were 11-2. They got a tough schedule ahead of them. They got to play a bunch of good Big Ten teams. So that includes, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State. So, with that tough conference schedule coming up, I look at this game against Washington as a must win. So I think they'll go in there and at least cover the 3.5. And then my final pick of the week is going to be Texas versus UTSA -12.5. Obviously, Quinn Ewers went down last week. That was tough, but they really shocked the whole country against Alabama, almost pulled out the victory, even with their backup Hudson Card in there. I think he looked good. He didn't make any major mistakes. The defense looked unbelievable. Alabama couldn't get anything going. Bijan Robinson's a beast running all over the place. So I think they should win that game by a good amount. It'll be interesting to see how Card does. He's only a sophomore, but he does have experience. Last year, he played in 8 games for the Longhorns. He started 2 of those, so he does have that experience. I think he'll be able to step in Ewers' absence and, keep it afloat there for Texas. And I think they'll get a good victory against UTSA this week. Those are my picks.
Texas.
It's risky.
Risky. I mean, you are right. Even with the injury of Ewers, like being able to be that close to Alabama and almost winning that game is, incredible. The one thing though, I didn't like how they were saying, "Hey, we won that game. We won that game." It was a moral victory. That was
There's no moral victories.
There's no moral victories at all, and there's no moral victories when you're Texas. When you are fucking Longhorn City and all of this stuff, you win. Your goal is championships. Your goal is not moral victories.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, look, they could go either down one road or the other after the Alabama loss. They can take it and say, look, we almost beat the top dog, the number 1 team in the country. We came this close. let's be hungry. Let's go out and let's ball out for the rest of the year and show the whole nation that we're legit. We belong in the conversation. Or on the contrary, based on what you're saying, Will, with their kind of attitude, moral victory, they could say, oh, well, we came close, and they could start losing a bunch of games and it could turn ugly. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think it is going to be, the first scenario, and I think they'll bounce back.
I love it. I love it. Mr. Basil.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Sorry,
You're
I've been
good.
having some weird problems. All right.
No worries.
So actually, a lot of my picks align with Cole, so hopefully I'm not retreading too much ground here. My FBS lock of the week, I've got FSU -2.5 over Auburn. The thing about college football and college sports in general is that it's a place for players to make mistakes, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like, these are still college kids we're talking about. But Jordan Travis, the quarterback for Florida State, does not make mistakes. In his last 11 starts, he's 8-3. He's an excellent dual threat quarterback. And, they've got 2 great wins so far this year. They've got that stunning win against LSU to start the season, and then just a blowout over Duquesne. And so now against Louisville, their first ACC opponent of the year, I think they're going to make another big statement and definitely get the win and cover -2.5. FCS, I'm rocking with you, Cole. I'm also riding Delaware over Rhodey. Like I said with my Villanova pick last week, I think we might be seeing like a East Coast football powerhouse in the CAA here. They're no North Dakota State yet, but I think a lot of these teams in this conference are setting themselves up to have a really strong year. And Delaware, with their statement win over Navy, is a perfect candidate. For my regular picks, I've got BYU +2.5 over Oregon. This is a really interesting thing. So according to the Deseret News, which is a Salt Lake City-based newspaper, this is technically a bye game for BYU. Oregon is paying BYU $1.1 million as the 12th ranked team in the country. Yeah, I've never heard of this before. Because, yes, this is a great year for BYU, probably above average than we've seen in the last couple of years. But it's not like they're it's not like they're like an Alcorn State or something like this. Like they're a soon to be like a Power 16. They're joining the Big 12 in a couple of years. So, I mean, very interesting. And, it's just Oregon's paying $1.1 million for a home loss. So that's just super strange to me. Next, I got Washington +3.5. I think Washington's got an excellent passing offense. And I just don't think Michigan's secondary is going to be able to handle that. And same goes for Penn State against Auburn -3. I think Penn State's going to light them up. And that's what I've got.
The bye game for BYU is crazy.
Yeah, that is
it's
wild.
So weird. I've never seen anything like it before.
I'll tell you what, BYU looked unbelievable last
usually,
week.
I mean, I'm sure like
I think we're on a little bit of delay with Basil.
Yeah,
here,
I'm sure they're. Can you hear me? Okay,
you're good. Yeah,
I'm sure their athletic, like Oregon's athletic office right now is like.
Oh. Did we lose
him again?
I think we lost you. Are you there, Basil?
Nope.
I think we're messed up here.
All right. Well, Basil's figuring that out. I'll run. Basil's back.
Oh,
he's gone. We'll get him back in a moment. I'll run over Zimmer's picks first, and then myself. Zimmer couldn't join today. He's got a couple repeats as well. So he's got Oklahoma -10.5 over Nebraska. Interesting. I mean, we'll do some commentary after that for the crew. We got UCLA -15 over. I lost the page. 1 second. UCLA is over South Alabama. And then he also has Toledo +32.5 versus Ohio State. His FBS lock is Florida State -3 over Louisville. His FCS is the Fordham spread over Albany. And then we'll go over the other picks later on as well. So pretty solid board. And again, I mean, the biggest question of them all is, will Nebraska bounce back after, firing Scott Frost?
Yeah, a lot of repetition there. Makes sense for a lot of Zim's picks. I will say this: Zim had Nebraska last week. He thought they were gonna bounce back. They didn't, obviously. So now it looks like he's going against them.
He's got to flip it over. I understand why. I don't know. Nebraska, it's been talked about all week by many college football folks. A tough draw after this to face, a ranked team in Oklahoma. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I will say I do like his Fordham pick. I actually thought about taking Fordham this week. I know we don't have Basil right now on, but he's a big Fordham guy. They've looked really good. I mean, they're 2-0. They've been balling out. So I definitely considered taking Fordham, but I ended up going up with Delaware. But I think that's a good pick for Zim this week in the FCS department.
Right on, yeah. So I'm gonna swing over and do my picks now. Let's kick it off. So I also have the BYU +2.5. I am all out on Oregon. Don't let the 70 points against Eastern Washington fool you. And now that it's a $1 million buy game, I hope they smash the 2.5. So I like the BYU. In opposition of you, Cole, I am going to take UTSA +12.5. I just think that, they've shown being able to cover against Houston in week 1 and then, squeezing it out against Army. I think they keep it within a touchdown. So I'll take the 12.5 there. Then we have, again, following along with Gracie, USC -12.5. Fight on. I'm riding the USC. USC has been making me some money. No reason to mess up the juju right there. So I got the USC pick, and I am probably going to bet responsibly on the first half spread as well. I've been a sucker for those in football so far, so in NFL. So I'm liking that play. I have Mississippi State -2 over LSU. I think that's wildly low. I'm kind of surprised by that, so I jumped all over that. So Mississippi State -2, and then I also do have Toledo +32 against Ohio State. We talked about it. Ohio State, they're still a competitive team, but I do not think that they can cover. I don't think that they'll score more than 30 points. Maybe I'm wrong, but I hope I'm not in terms of this. I'm riding with the Delaware money line for my FCS lock of the week, and my FBS lock of the week is Pitt -10. Pitt is playing, was it Western Michigan? 10 points against a Western Michigan team that lost by nearly 20 against Michigan State and barely squeezed out a win against Ball State. I think that's a little disrespect to, Mississippi State. So I like the spread there for my lock.
Yeah, LSU. I mean, I like Mississippi State against LSU for sure. I think LSU showed in week 1 against Florida State when they lost in the extra point that, they're nothing special this year, I don't think. Yeah, they bounced back against Southern University last week, but that's a no-name school. So, first SEC matchup for them this year, and it'll be interesting. But I like Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, to beat LSU as well.
Right on. Now, Gracie, we know you got to bounce soon. Do you want to just go over any other closing topics before we hop into the Appalachian State game?
No, I think I can actually stick around till around like 6:30 my time. So no,
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll just stick around.
Sweet. We got some time. We got the crew. So let's dive in. So we have College Game Day is Appalachian State versus Troy. Basil can no longer hop on. His Wi-Fi shit the bed. So him and Zimmer both have Appalachian State -12.5. Cole, I also have Appalachian State -12.5. I'm seeing on your card something different.
Yeah, I'm going to take App State to win. I've been rolling with them. I took them last week against A&M. I didn't think they were going to beat them, but I had them to cover. It was a pleasant surprise for them to win. I think that's awesome for that program. I think they'll beat Troy. I don't know. I think they're going to settle down a little bit. They've been on fire. Week 1 against UNC, it was a shootout. They put up so many points. And then last week, they obviously had a huge upset against A&M. I mean, the vibes are going to be high there in Boone, North Carolina, obviously. I mean, game day is coming there, and that will get anyone fired up. So I think they will have a good performance, but I think Troy keeps it close, and I have App State winning by 10 points, 27-17. I mean, they've been 7-2 against Troy head-to-head since 2000. They're going for their 5th win in a row against them. They've been on a roll. Their offense is really, really clicking. They've been averaging like 482 yards per game on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't expect them to lose this game, but I don't think it'll be an absolute blowout.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I think they're a big letdown spot for them with, so much coming from last weekend and then college game days there. It's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, but I agree that, they win by 10 or 11, keep it close.
Fair points. And yeah, I don't think people are realizing the draw and the publicity of App State right now. I mean, again, they've always, made some minor waves in headlines, but getting a college game day, big shoes to fill in this spot. As we move over to this rivalry bowl, so this is Sam Basil's commentary. The Paint Bucket Bowl is what we will be covering, which is Arkansas State and Memphis. Kind of a dud, but we're going to ride with it. So it got its name when Arkansas State and Memphis wanted a creative way for students of both schools to celebrate a rivalry without destroying each other's trees, statues, buildings, and etc. This happened after every matchup. Every year, the losing school now designates an area of campus for the winning school to smear paint and mark up with graffiti. Again, didn't realize Arkansas State and Memphis had such a rivalry like this, but we'll take it. So I'll start with my picks. I have the favorite for this game. I have Memphis minus 14.5. Again, not too familiar with both programs, but I'm going to take the big dog and the Tigers.
Yeah, I think I'll second that. I think Memphis goes in and wins that game. Through their first 2 games of the season, they played Mississippi State to open up week 1. They got beat pretty bad there, but that's expected. Mississippi State's a good team. They bounced back last week against Navy, got a pretty good victory, won by a good margin, 37-13. But we don't know what Navy is this year. Normally, Navy has a really good football team. They're an underrated program. I feel like that doesn't really get talked about because they're one of the military institutions. But year in and year out, Navy's always putting up a solid record. But they lost to Delaware, like we mentioned earlier, and to Memphis last week. So I think Memphis, they might get the wheels going and, be on a little bit of a run. So I'll take them over Arkansas State as well.
Yeah, I didn't have a official play. I honestly, again, I don't really know much about these programs. Like, I just don't. But I don't have a play. If I had to choose, I think I would take Memphis spread. But I can't pick something. I just don't know anything about the teams, honestly.
Which is super, super fair. And it's interesting, though, because you're obviously a West Coast representation, and is the Pac-12 really like the main focus out there, and like the top 25?
No one cares. I mean, college football is kind of lame on the West Coast. Like I saw that Lincoln Riley today was talking about how he wants to like have USC, like he wants the ticket sales to sell out in like under 10 minutes. I'm like, you'll never get that will never happen. UCLA, no one cares. Or I would say Oregon, there are people that actually like genuinely care about Oregon football. And that's probably the only, like, I know a lot of people who are like diehard Oregon sports fans, and like their football team is usually pretty good. So I feel like that's the only like actual like team that people care about on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's kind of it's strange because a lot of the Pac-12 schools are basketball schools, right? Like you
Yeah.
have Arizona State, Washington. A lot of them are basketball schools rather than football schools. And with the teams in LA, like there's so much going on in LA, like outside of football. So I feel like it's just not a priority for them, but it's
Yeah.
just a different culture,
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. So those are all the picks we had. I just wanted to spend a couple moments because we do got, a little extra time. And again, this doesn't have to be anybody's plays or anything, but just looking at our top 25. Are there anybody in particular you think is going to get upset this week? So, just going through some of the games, we got number 4 Michigan over UConn, spreads 47.5, which
They're
they
gonna
did not.
cover.
Michigan did not cover against Hawaii.
I know.
Disappointment.
It was close, but I mean, it was a ton of points. I still think they should have covered, but I think they bounced back. UConn is bad. So I think
They've
they'll
always
cover.
been bad. They've always been bad. Number 1 Georgia against South Carolina. That spread is 24.5. Oklahoma and Nebraska were already talked about. Number 17 Baylor against Texas State, spreads -30. Kentucky, number 9 over Youngstown State.
Oy.
Yeah. We got the BYU Oregon matchup that we already talked about. Number 20 Mississippi over Georgia Tech, spread is 16.5. Penn State Auburn, the spread's 3. Alabama over Louisiana Monroe, spreads 49.5. Wake Forest, number 19 against Liberty, -16.5 spread. We got Tennessee -47.5 spread against Akron. OK State over Arkansas Pine Bluff. Never even heard of that school. Didn't even know that was a school.
Wow.
Wonder how much they're paying. We got Arkansas and Missouri State. Arkansas is number 10. NC State, number 16, has a -10 spread against Texas Tech. Number 11, Michigan State, is -3 over Washington, just to name some of the any surprises, anybody we envision upsetting, because as we've seen these past 2 weeks, there's going to be an upset in the top 25. There's going to be 2 or 3 upsets.
Yeah, I think the one game that sticks out to me potentially is number 19 Wake Forest against Liberty. Liberty, obviously, we've spoken about this in the past. Good football program. Ever since Hugh Freeze became the head coach there, he was obviously the old head coach at Ole Miss. He just knows how to lead a program, and Liberty's coming in 2-0 against Wake Forest. I could see that potentially being an upset. I know the spread is double digits, but that's the game that sticks out to me out of any of them, I believe.
Yeah, this isn't an upset, but I kind of like South Carolina to cover against Georgia plus 24.5 at home. Spencer Rattler, if he's got something to prove, cover that spread against Georgia. Keep it lose by 18, 17, at least cover. And I kind of like South Carolina to cover against Georgia at home. It's a lot of points.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing some underdogs as well. We already talked about the Michigan State +3 against Washington, as well as no, that's pretty much the main one. Utah versus San Diego State kind of intrigues me. I think this is a game where Utah definitely needs to, put full throttle on and not whisk away, especially, their play against Florida 2 weeks ago. So hopefully that spreads -21 and hopefully they cover.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
another interesting game too is the Miami Texas A&M game, right? That's going to be a fun one to watch. Like Gracie said, Miami's got a great team. A&M, we'll see what happens with them. I mean, I think we're all on the same train here that we want them to just kind of run it into the ground, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in that game. I think it's going to be too close to make a pick. I'm not going to make a pick, but it'll be a fun one to watch, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think Miami will keep it close. I think Texas A&M morale is low there, and they've been clowned all week. I think Miami can keep it close.
And we will see, and I'll probably look at this Saturday morning and throw some more money on it just because I'm going to love the board. But that's our show.
Big bounce back week for us this week.
Yep.
We need it.
Positive vibes.
Spirit fingers, positive vibes. We're all going plus money this week. We're all getting back in the winning boards. And, that is our show this week. And we will catch everybody next week, week 4, with some more money in our pockets. This is what we're going to do. We're picking winners today.
Yep.
So thanks for joining in. Fight on. Because I think I'm repping USC now. I'm going to buy the hat, and we'll catch you next week.
See you guys.